There are a lot of unanswered questions right now, but we do know this is a police-involved shooting. A suspect is dead, and behind me is an active crime scene. That store owner told me that he feared for his wife's safety, so he chased the suspected robber outside with a bat. She crashed with her boyfriend into this retaining wall, pushing the blocks up this little slope. That just shows you the impact, and if we come closer to the scene, you can see that there's still glass from the windshield. I'm 6'2", and look at this thing. Imagine this hitting a car. It fell down from the hillside right here on the roadway. DOT crews moved it over here. Right now, literally, I would say within the last 5 minutes, an ember came down from this hillside. We were along Highway 97A and sparked this fire right here. I don't care if it's smashed. I don't care if it's alive. I cannot stand insects. I'm just being honest with you. If I see them, I swat them. I sometimes do kill flies, so I hope I don't offend any. Now, the family that owned this barn that I'm in, they used to be able to look out of a glass window, see the scenery, the country, the farm, and guess what? That window is now shattered. Compare that to what happened last week, and it's completely different. That tent collapsed, briefly trapping some children, and it was very horrific. There's a levee here in the town of Arlington, north of Seattle, and that levee has broken, and all this water is beginning to come here. And I just talked to a state trooper, and he tells me that more water is expected. Business owners in Seattle might actually get a tax break. Mayor Greg Nichols and 2 council members want to get rid of the city's $25 per employee head tax. Well, we arrived on scene roughly 15 minutes ago. This is a deep rural area. There's woods back there, and firefighters are vigorously trying to put out this blaze. This grass is perfect fuel for the fire. You can see how dry it is. Now, ash is covering parts of the hillside, but there are still areas that have not been touched. Yes, I actually have been skiing today, and I had a great time going up the slopes. In fact, maybe after my 6 o'clock live shot, I'll probably hit the slopes again. All of a sudden, we heard a loud rumbling noise. Mud came tumbling down the steep slope, covering West Valley Highway, as you can see right here. And there was no cheering when that verdict was read here on Como 4 News. Many of them had that television station on, and they were just surprised when Dan Lewis and Kathy Gertzen said guilty. That is the verdict. Look at the owner of this truck right here. This thing is, look at all this snow. Truck owner's gonna have to come and get this shovel and remove it so that he can get his truck and get out of town. He had a very serious look on his face, and I walked up to him and said, "Sir, what's on your mind?" And he told me, "Shomari, this is one of the greatest days of my life. I lived to see a black president in the United States." The northbound off-ramp onto Highway 530 is closed. There's a levee here in the town of Arlington, north of Seattle, and that levee has broken, and all this water is beginning to come here. And I just talked to a state trooper, and he tells me that more water is expected to come here. It could be as much as 5 inches. My photographer can move right over here. You can see that is the town of Arlington over there. People cannot go into that town from the northbound side. They're going to have to go on the southbound side. And if you could come right back over here, take a look at this, you guys. These are mailboxes. There's actually mail in here, and you can see how deep it is. A lot of folks won't be able to come here and get their mail. This flooding is very serious out here. The highway is surrounded by water near I-5. I'm standing in it, and I talked to some longtime residents, and they tell me they've never seen anything like this before.
I'm in shock, awe.
Laura Anderson is amazed. The Stillaguamish River is overflowing on Highway 530 in Arlington. The water surrounds her and her dog.
It's kind of wow. We got water forming in the parking lot over there. We got water coming over the road.
Heavy rainfall pounded the river, flooding gas stations, roads, and swallowing cars. Anderson's son lives on the other side of the water.
I hope he's okay. I just talked to his girlfriend.
Now I have my tape measure here, and I can see that the water is up to 31 inches at this particular part. The water is cold, and here I'm at the O'Brien Turkey House. They put up sandbags like this one right here, but it didn't work because I look in and there is water flooded throughout here. Let's take a walk together. You can look at this newspaper stand, and the water is almost up to this level. Coming up here, it continues to rise, and residents say they've never seen anything like this. Even the state troopers say it's historic.
This is a major incident for the state of Washington. These are historic flood proportions, especially for this river.
I haven't seen it like this in over 20 years.
Oh, how times have changed.
You know, I want to be a part of the Polar Bear Club, but this is a little ridiculous.
I'm now here at a gas station. You can see this is 89. A lot of folks aren't coming to this place. State troopers have evacuated this gas station, evacuated restaurants out here. It's a mess out here in Arlington. A lot of residents are trying to get home. They're going to have to go on the southbound side. Once again, the northbound off-ramp onto Highway 530 in Arlington is closed. In Arlington, I'm Shomari Stone. Back to you. Gentlemen, the Latino Bar Association has released a statement basically saying that they condemn this incident. They say that it is police brutality and racially charged. Seattle police detained 3 people, including a Hispanic man, in their hunt for possible armed robbery suspects. Now look at the man on the right, lying face down, without handcuffs and not under arrest. Listen to what one officer says. Seconds later, the man moves his hand, appearing to wipe his eye. The officer kicks him in the head as he wipes his boot on his hand. A female officer stomps on his leg. Police realize they detained the wrong man, lift him up, and let him go. The video does not show a medic arriving on scene, even though the man has cuts on his face and appears to have trouble walking.
What I want you to do is relax your weight on the car, okay? All right? Put your hands back so you don't fall down, all right?
A freelance photographer captured the video.
So they kicked you in the head, man?
Yeah, they did.
Tell me why they kicked you in the head.
I don't know. They just kicked me in the head. They knocked me down and kicked me in the head.
And you had nothing to do with what was going on?
Nothing to do.
I think it's awful.
Pramila Jayapal is the executive director of One America, an immigrant advocacy organization. She also sits on a citizen panel that will help select the new Seattle police chief. What's your reaction when you see that video?
The language that was used was just despicable, horrendous language that was used and racist. And then the violence is, there's no reason.
Interim Seattle Chief John Diaz hasn't seen the video but has ordered an investigation.
I do have to say that if what I understand is on that video and what I heard is on that video, that's very disturbing to me. And as I said, there's going to be a thorough investigation.
Now, we don't know the man's name in the video or his whereabouts, but one thing is clear. The mayor and the city council have released statements saying that they are concerned and they're waiting for a full report from the Internal Affairs investigation. Live in Seattle along Lake Union, I'm Shomari Stone, KOMO 4 News. Good evening. First, let me tell you that this fire is not under control. It is 10% contained, and as you can see behind me, it is still active. Let me move out the way. About an hour ago, this brush and grass behind me flared up along Highway 97A. Just take a look at all those flames over there. Over 200 firefighters have been battling the blaze over the past 24 hours, and tonight the fight continues. Orange flames and thick black smoke cover the skyline close to a quarter of a mile away from Highway 97A. Firefighters monitor the blaze as it burns grass and brush. East Wenatchee resident Lori Gibbons pulled over.
We were kind of concerned to make sure that we could get back home, but we wanted to pull over and get some pictures of it.
Firefighters launched an aerial attack with 5 helicopters dropping gallons of water on the flames. The hillsides on some parts of Swakane Canyon continue to light up in the hot, dry weather. The wind causes the grass and brush fire to grow, at times rapidly spreading in all directions. Close to 6,000 acres covering approximately 7 miles have burned, and it's only 10% contained. Wes Childress and his wife live across Highway 97A. They're ready to leave at any minute.
We've been concerned. We've got the boat loaded up and our stuff out of the trailer ready to hit the road.
How does this make you feel?
Well, uncomfortable because, you know, it's right next to home.
Around 70 homes are under level 1 evacuations, meaning people need to be prepared to leave when fire officials order them to do so. State Patrol closed Highway 97A when flames jumped the roadway, but reopened it when firefighters got it under control. Niall Horner drenches the neighborhood's perimeter.
Just as a precaution, just to keep the fire from coming down here, any sparks or anything. It's not anything. It's just to help out.
This grass is perfect fuel for the fire. You can see how dry it is. Now, ash is covering parts of the hillside, but there are still areas that have not been touched. For example, right here, you can see that it's still dry over here, and if a hot ember landed on it, this could become a hot spot.
The dry grass and shrubs are very flammable. They ignite easily, and the fire can move quickly, particularly when it's blown by strong winds.
Absolutely, and speaking of those strong winds, firefighters expect 10 to 15 mile per hour winds with 25 mile per hour gusts overnight. You're looking at a live picture of the fire. Well, the Bus Drivers Union president is pleased that Metro Transit is reviewing the policy. He says that it needs to change. He's concerned that public safety is being compromised. You've likely seen the disturbing video showing a 15-year-old girl getting attacked while security guards stand by. How do you feel about seeing that?
It's outrageous. It's outrageous that that's allowed to occur and that those guards didn't intervene.
Paul Bechtel's the president of the Metro Transit Bus Drivers Union, Local 587. He says the attack is another example of why drivers should be allowed to help. They face suspension or possible termination if they step in. According to the Transit Operating Handbook, a bus driver is instructed not to intervene, but instead push an EA button, alerting a dispatcher who would then call police. But as you can see on the video, some attacks happen in less than a few minutes. 2 years ago, a bus driver wrestled a gunman to the ground and held him until police came.
Metro's reaction was to threaten to suspend the driver for intervening. While at the same time, the police department and the county council were putting together awards for this gentleman. Metro quickly backed off, but did put a letter in his file advising him not to intervene in the future.
Metro Transit's general manager says not all cases are clear-cut.
It ends up being a very difficult judgment call at the time, and if in fact, somebody ends up getting hurt that maybe was an innocent bystander or maybe really wasn't the perpetrator in the event, then you have a whole other set of issues you end up having to deal with.
Some passengers want the policy changed, but others say drivers shouldn't step in.
Maybe they can call the police, but as far as trying to stop it hand to hand, no, I don't think so.
The union says Metro Transit should give drivers a choice.
Let employees know that they have a responsibility, civic duties, that they shouldn't feel fearful of losing their jobs if they exercise.
Now, the union president also told me that bus drivers would possibly go on strike if a driver was fired for intervening in a violent attack like what happened to 15-year-old Aisha Stewart Baker. Once again, Metro Transit is reviewing the policy. We'll continue to bring you updates on this story, and you can follow it on our website at comonews.com. Live in downtown Seattle, I'm Shomari Stone, KOMO 4 News. Mr. Mayor, are you going to resign?
I'm going to be talking with my attorney about the report that's coming out this afternoon.
Linwood Mayor Don Goff refuses to step down, even though the city council has asked him to do so. The newly released report is the work of an independent investigator hired by the city council after complaints the mayor was mistreating employees. Last March, the city settled with Stephanie Simpson, his former administrative assistant, for just under $50,000. She claimed the mayor was discriminatory and condescending. But I'm sure you can look back at your relationship with some of your employees and other city workers. Did you create a hostile work environment? It's either a yes or no.
No, it isn't a yes or no. That is a did you manage to stop beating your wife question. The answer was I have good relationships with a lot of people in City Hall.
But according to this letter signed by 5 female city officials and sent to the city council, the mayor subjected them to a hostile and harassment-based working environment. They say, quote, it's intolerable ever since his election 4.5 years ago. Do you feel that the mayor has created a hostile work environment for some employees?
Yes.
In an exclusive interview, Deputy Police Chief Karen Manson speaks for the first time. She signed the letter accusing the mayor of harassment.
And it's been going on for a period of time now, and it needs to be dealt with.
The mayor won't comment on the investigator's report. He claims he hasn't seen it, but a source told me he's had it for a couple weeks. The mayor told me he'll review it with his attorney.
I'm spending a lot of money for an expert to go through this, and I plan to use that time and opportunity to go through it.
Now, this report was released approximately 4 minutes ago, and I'm just looking over it myself, and I do want to point out one thing. It says in April of 2009, the city's HR department failed to take Ms. Simpson's concerns about Mayor Goff seriously. That's really interesting. Also, it says Mayor Goff retaliated against Ms. Simpson after she applied for the ACA position and continued to retaliate against Ms. Simpson. These are some serious allegations here. This was an independent investigation by the Seabold Group. Now, as for the mayor, well, he says that he's going to review this with his attorney next week before he decides whether to resign. Live here with this developing story, I'm Shomari Stone, KOMO 4 News.